What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stokastic coming to you with Reignmakers NFL. We're talking Reignmakers football, baby. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. It goes a long way for me on this video. It goes a long way for you. That way you become a prize whenever great content is going live here at our little neck of the YouTube woods. What are we talking about with Reignmakers football? Well, it's the NFL draft, and there is a really cool wrinkle that they have thrown in the very first, we'll call them rookie packs, because that's the rookie debut set. That's what we're looking at here. I have a couple here that I'm going to be opening live, hanging out with you guys, talking through it all. But just to give you a little bit of an intro, NFL draft. We don't know necessarily who you're going to be getting in these packs. So once you open the pack, you're going to have an idea. There's people like the running back number one that you're going to definitely have a really good idea of who's going for it. But head over to DraftKings Nation. They have a really good article that explains exactly what we're looking at here. There's a core edition. There's still a few packs left on the marketplace. And even if you don't have those, as you head over to the DraftKings marketplace, there are opportunities to get them in the listings. And I do recommend, because the live drop going $9.99, these are going to clean up before the NFL draft starts. So you're going to want to get one of the cheaper ones here that, say, somebody snags one as we're standing there, going a little bit cheaper there than the list price. So make sure you jump in the marketplace to go get your debut pack. But fortunately for me, I was able to snipe one of these for $30. That's a whole 1 cent more on the booster pack for the rare that we're going to open here. I also have 5 other packs sitting here, but let's explain what we're looking at. Seems like an important distinction between just opening a pack and knowing exactly what card you're getting. We're doing DraftKings NFL Reignmakers. You get an NFT. You have possession of that player, but in terms of what we're looking at for the NFL draft, you don't know which player that's going to be until the draft occurs. And that creates a ton of strategy. Now, you're going to have first 6 quarterbacks are available. The first 5 running backs are available. And then the first 9 wide receivers. Wide receivers, they're a huge part of the Reignmakers NFT game once we start up in September, once the NFL season is here. But there are great opportunities to maneuver your way to find exactly which player you might be looking for during this draft. Let's start with the quarterback position. Bryce Young, as we go to the DraftKings Sportsbook. Yeah, DraftKings Sportsbook. Second quarterback selected, CJ Stroud. That doesn't matter. We look at number 1 pick. Bryce Young is above and away the guy. Minus 5,000. So if you get the quarterback selection for number 1, the draft position, that player is going to probably end up being Bryce Young with pretty great certainty. Now, you have an opportunity for Carolina to be playing him right away, which is very important when I'm analyzing this NFL draft and trying to react to it in the DraftKings marketplace. Now, why is that? Because some rookies will be playing right away and some rookies will not. I am very nervous specifically about 4th quarterback off the board, potentially Anthony Richardson. Now, there are a number of different scenarios where we have Tennessee talking about going up and getting CJ Stroud at pick number 3. That is a huge conversation piece of this draft, with Arizona wanting to trade out of that position. I'm assuming it ends up being Tennessee based on what we've heard. The Malik Willis situation hasn't gone as expected. The Liberty product, pretty much inept in the passing game, and CJ Stroud immediately can fill that void for a Tennessee football team on the rebuild now. Depends on what happens with the rest of that roster. But I'm going to be looking very closely at Anthony Richardson, because there's also talk that my Minnesota Vikings might be in the running to try to get a quarterback in this first round. Now, seems a little strange with Kirk Cousins, as much as we have invested in him, but it definitely makes sense to have a developmental project with as high of a ceiling as what Anthony Richardson does. And that creates a major problem, because he's probably not playing football this year. Barring injury, he's probably not playing football this season. And that creates a massive problem when you start valuing the card at the beginning of the season. So be paying close attention to some of the draft positions. But as we head to the marketplace here, I want to go through, instead of this, we want to go rookie debut. I have it zoomed in very, very close for everybody here. Let's go by this. Here we go. All right. So you can see here, this is the DraftKings marketplace. The lowest player that we have currently going, QB selection number 6. Now, once you get down the board there are a number of players based on the DraftKings odds where you look at draft position. And again, draft specials, I like going to the quarterback, running back props, and wide receiver props because these are the only three we really need to concern ourselves with. We don't have to worry about the defensive players or the offensive linemen, unless you're going to be looking at cards way down the future. But as it stands right now, I am very interested in who's going to be some of these later quarterbacks taken that might have a chance. Now, Dorian Thompson Robinson out of UCLA, I don't know if he would be a guy. Hendon Hooker, don't know if he'd be a guy, but I could see, you never know. Look at San Francisco. They ended up rolling 4 quarterbacks deep by the end of the season, found kind of their guy in the future, Iowa State product Brock Purdy. So a lot of interesting scenarios that can happen in the back half of this. But I know for a fact that CJ Stroud will leave us. Anthony Richardson, more than likely, depending on where he lands, have an opportunity to be playing this season. So it's going to be making sense to me that the lowest quarterback, the number 6, is $2.60 out of your packs. Now, on the flip side of that, as we scroll down here, quarterback selection number 1 going for $10.75, but there's one player who's going more expensive in the core department, and that is running back selection number 1. This is the card that you want. Period. End of story. His name's Bijan Robinson. He's out of Texas, and he's going to be a fantasy football stud no matter where he lands. He's got some of the best metrics you've ever seen at the running back position, was an absolute bell cow back at Texas, has lateral movement, has good hands, does everything you could possibly want out of an NFL running back. And now there's talks that he could end up in Philadelphia. Now, that might lower his ceiling a little bit compared to a place maybe like the Chargers or something of that nature. Now that we've got word that they're looking to move Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler requested a trade before the season. So maybe Bijan Robinson ends up being their 1-for-1 swap. Not a bad situation if he falls to the Chargers and you have that pick. But there's a reason he's going the most expensive player, because he is the absolute guy that you want to be getting on this board. Now, fortunately for me, I opened a couple of packs already. Here we go. And in my collectibles, I was fortunate enough to snag one of those RB selection ones. Now, RB selection 4 gets a little bit deeper as you're looking at the running back class here of players. Tyjae Spears, Zach Charbonnet, some interesting guys. Jahmyr Gibbs, he's pretty good. We're going to see fantasy relevance from these running backs, but I just don't know where they're going to land. And you have to be thinking ahead about where these players, about where they could possibly end up, so that you can have yourself equipped when the draft selection comes across to be able to snipe a couple of these cards in the DraftKings marketplace. Because once that officially comes across the line, that player will be added to your portfolio over at the DraftKings marketplace. All right, let's get to the fun stuff, shall we? I've been waiting for this. Again, pack opening time. I'm going to open a couple of these. We'll talk potentially who they could have. Whoa, look at it. Look at it. Give me something good. Let's start it off with a bang, shall we? Core, position pick number 9. Now, a wide receiver. We can see guys from the back half of the draft. We haven't talked about the wide receivers yet, so at least it's a good talking point. Jackson Smith-Njigba sounds like he's going to be the first guy selected. There are a number of mock drafts. You can look at both the ESPN guys. Have 5 wide receivers projected in this first round. So there's some variability about who could end up where. We know the offenses you want to see wide receivers end up in. Buffalo would probably be an ideal one. Kansas City, yes and no, just because they rolled so many players deep over the course of this Super Bowl run with Patrick Mahomes. He spread the ball everywhere. And as long as Travis Kelce exists, he's going to be a funnel. Going to be hard for any wide receiver to cut into that kind of passing game share. I wouldn't mind Minnesota, playing in a dome. Detroit would be another spot where I would be pretty happy to be getting some of these back half wide receivers. So I think you're going to have to be reacting to draft day and picking up these kind of cards, because again, they're not going to be going for all that much here at this point in time. But let's get to the big bopper, shall we? I've been waiting for this one. Rookie debut booster pack commence. All righty. My rare card. Please be Bijan Robinson. Please be. Please be running back number 1. Running back number 1 for me one time. Get 3 of these also. Running back number 4. Okay. That's always fantasy relevant to some extent. Wide receiver number 3. Ooh, this makes me happy before we get to the biggie. I like Quentin Johnson. I really like Jordan Addison as a wide receiver. We saw him succeed at Pitt, transferred to USC, had kind of a down year by his standards, what we were expecting from him, but it was still one of those situations where physically you could see the playmaking type ability. And I'm not saying that he's going to set the world on fire instantly, but I think, we're going to have a number of these players. There's going to be a number of these players that are going to be everyday starters for you in your Rainmakers lineups. We don't necessarily know who all of them are. And a guy like Jackson Smith and Jigba, I think, has a leg up, stayed healthy, decided not to play or pushed to play in any of the bowls for Ohio State. And now sounds like he's pretty healthy and going to be good to go for the beginning of the season. That's a pretty ridiculous talent, in my opinion. And Zay Flowers, there's a chance that he falls outside of the number 2 wide receiver, but doesn't look likely based on the DraftKings Sportsbook odds. So these will be shifting quite a bit between now and between the NFL draft. So be on the lookout. Going to be fun stuff. But now, the main event. Please be running back 1. Quarterback number 6. Wild stuff. All right. The very last quarterback that's going to be going here on the board is my rare card that we're going to be looking at. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, it's going to just depend on where they land. I mean, Anthony Richardson, we have 2 first-round picks for Houston in that first round. Going to be wild to figure out what they're going to do. Sounds like they're going to go defense, looking at a number of players at the number 2 pick. And then maybe at 12, Anthony Richardson is still hanging out here. But number 6, Hendon Hooker, he's a project out of Tennessee. I could see the Rams taking him. I could see a team like even the Chiefs being able to have somebody who's a serviceable backup here, just somebody that they can develop behind Patrick Mahomes, possibly. Because again, quarterbacks get hurt pretty frequently. Never a bad thing to have a full stock of them. And plus, you're better off taking shots at the quarterback position in the NFL draft. But that's a story for another day. Let's open one more of these cores just because I'm sad we didn't get Bijan Robinson. How dare I not get the perfect card there? See, I'm glad we opened one. Wide receiver selection number 1. Hello, Jackson Smith and Jigba. I would hope that that's who that turns into. That's going to be a fantastic card. So I can go to my collectibles. I'm going to refresh this here quick, and we are going to get ourselves on out of here. Get ready for this NFL draft. Sign up for your free pack below for PGA DraftKings as well. So PGA Tour DraftKings. Great stuff in the Rainmakers streets over there. So take advantage of that. But we can look at wide receiver selection number 1. I could be selling that puppy for $9.40 going for the low right now. That is a pretty great snag if you do say so myself. Sorry about the white screen there. Cool. Guys, DraftKings Rainmakers is a phenomenal product. I'm excited for the strategy of this draft. Don't forget, a couple of key points as we get out of here. Be reacting to the draft board because one player who's going for quite a bit. Anthony Richardson, I think, is the highlighted quarterback where I could see him in a system where he could be playing right away. I could see him in a system where he's developed, and you want to be avoiding the developmental type situations as much as possible. And that's why quarterback selection 1, 2, 3, those are all looking like your best bets to have guys playing right from the jump. And running back, everybody's going to be serviceable to a certain extent. Hard to believe that there won't be running backs who don't have at least some kind of a workload right away. But running back number 1, Bijan Robinson, that's going to be the dude. Excited to see his landing spot, assuming that he's the number 1 pick, just like DraftKings Sportsbook would indicate. All right, y'all, hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell as I get out of here. I'll be back next week covering PGA Tour like I always do. Until then, I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck in the PGA Rainmaker streets for the rookie class. Let's go.